balance of spinal silence. There were like 5 keys to it. You have social pressure to agree. You have a fear of isolation. You have intention to deciphering the most common opinions. That is to say that very often before you open up your mouth, you might read the newspaper to find out how people are thinking. Have you looked at some of the news programs on the last election between Obama and Romney? You would have thought that Romney was just about ready to win that election. Okay? You would have sworn that he was about to win that election. Had you paid attention to the media? Okay? Had you paid attention to the media, you thought it was almost a flip of a coin. Then when the election results come in, it wasn't even close. That's what media do. Okay? And so they push up one side and they pull down another. Okay? Now what happens is also that the people who are in the majority will always speak their piece to make sure that they silence those who are in the minority. So what you're saying is that you've got to learn to say, this is my stand on it, right or wrong. Remember I said it's not how you feel about an issue, it's how you support how you feel. Now, someone brought up that political things are of some private issues. The thing says political issues and private matters. And this is put in a book to show you how things change over time. Okay? And what social action and political action can do. Okay? Now you know that once upon a time, if I went home and I beat my wife like I love to do, I just came home and I said I had a bad day. And my wife comes up and said, hello honey, how you feel? I said, shut up, I don't want to hear a word out of you. Okay? What can she do about it? Nothing. Okay? I come home and I said, honey, I'm horny. I want to go to bed. And she says, I'm tired now. Well, I go and I take it. What can she do about it? Nothing. I go home and she's messing around with some fellas, so I kill both of them. What can they do about it? Nothing. Okay? I go home and I'm walking down the street. My kid gets lippy. You know how a little 5-year-old do. He gets lippy, and I slap her 3 or 4 times. What can you do about it? Nothing. What can anybody do about it? Nothing. Okay? Why? Because if the cops came around or somebody said, well, you shouldn't eat your child like that, I said, mind your business, it's a private matter. That carried the day. Okay? It carried the day. So you went to court saying, my husband beat me, see my swollen eye, and he broke my hand. And the judge said, well, yes, you don't have a case here, it's a private matter. Okay? Now, that's what they mean. Now, at the point, these things are no longer private matters. Okay? And then what happens is that it turns from being a private matter to a political matter. Because what you do is you say, well, I'm getting tired of being beaten up like this. And I can't hit you back because they don't play this game that I can hit you back. Okay? Even though a couple of us get away with it because I killed you because I got tired of your beating on me all the time. And so I claim I'm mentally ill. Okay? And I did it out of frustration. Okay? But you get yourself together, all of you who have been beaten up, and you form a group, and the next thing you know is you got political action operations. And no longer is my beating you a private matter. It is now a political matter, or a societal matter, or a social matter. You with me? So these are the way things change over time. And now I come home and I say, well, you know, I don't like the way you cook this dinner and blah, blah, blah. He said, well, that's tough, don't eat it. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to McDonald's. See how simple that is? But before, I would just sit there and slap you around. Okay? You go cook something else. Anyway, let me fix this up. What I do is come home and give you what you deserve, or slap you in the face and tell you to go fix my food. Okay? That's the difference. All right? Now, so no, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Can you go back and summarize like the 5 key dynamics of the spiral of silence?
Well, I don't have to because they all show up right in the book.
Yeah, but it's hard to.
Okay, I'll tell you what I have. First of all, you have social pressure to agree.
Okay.
You have fear of isolation. You have attention to deciphering.
Hey, Professor, that's over the test?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. I couldn't do it really fast. That's why.
No, some of these things they're here because you should you should put it in your arsenal, so you understand yourself and why you're not saying things, and you can understand that why other people don't say things. Okay, that's your general knowledge base. Okay, now. Notice that these things change. And so what happens is that even with that, we used to say things like sexual orientation. Once upon a time, that was all private matter. Okay? Now it's political matter. Okay? Because now you see that it moved from we're two consenting adults to we don't want two consenting adults to be too open about their consensus, okay, or their consent. Or we think they should have the right to be open about it. So it's now moved to the political arena, and political action starts taking place, okay? Notice that once upon a time, we had something that we call the right to privacy. Now the issue is the government invading our right to privacy? So they're surveilling everything. Okay? Now, we're going to move to the question of power and politics. And the issue is whoever makes the rules for society gets to influence the direction of that society. And the question is, who rules society? Now, just like there are a number of theoretical approaches to looking at social problems, there's some approaches to examining power and its structure. Okay? The first thing we have is what people call a pluralist theory. Okay? And a pluralist theory argues that political power is fragmented among many different competing groups. Okay? Now what do we mean by that? We're saying political power is fragmented among different competing groups. Anybody have an idea what we're talking about?
It's divided between, like, I want to say the popular groups, because I don't want to say all political groups.
You could argue that. Okay? Now let's talk about it. Okay? Because see, part of what happens is that we always look at political power on a very massive scale. But just pull it down to the city, pull it down to the school, pull it down to anything. What you discover is that different groups exercise power at different times. Okay? Now, the school board has a sphere of influence. They do what they feel like doing within that sphere. And they change and they operate and they affect what goes on overall. They affect the city's budget. Okay? The head of the school board might have a stepping stone into the major political arena. okay? Know that the people who are in the Little League, they affect what goes on because they have power within their sphere. And that sphere connects because they say, we want this league, we need so much land in order to have our games. We need so-and-so and so-and-so in order to do that, okay? So they exercise power. And then sometimes what you have is that you have, say, the people on welfare joining together saying, we're not getting a fair shake. And they exercise power at a given time and era. And then it changes, okay? So that sometimes you have the business leaders exercising all the power or sharing the power, okay? So what this theory argues is that power is not just invested in one place. Power is invested all over the place. And all of these groups are what exercise what we call pluralist power. Does that make sense? Okay? And so it's in any era or area, so that very often all you have to do, you will even note that if people run for offices, say like somebody wants to run for a sheriff or dog catcher, whatever they run for in a general election, they always say, well, I was a member of such and such a thing, I was a member of so-and-so and so-and-so, I was a member of all these things, and they started listing all these things that showed that they were trying to be a citizen and that they were exercising their power and learning to use power and learning to work with people. That's what we do. Okay? That's what we do. Now, so, when you look at that, okay, the power isn't just stagnant, it's always changing. These things are dynamic, okay? People come and go within organizations. Look at how much power a group like the Red Cross exercises. Enormous power, okay? The government bends over backwards if the Red Cross says we want to come in. All the news organizations follow the Red Cross around. Okay? And then what the government will say, people donate to the Red Cross. All the news organizations, they donate to, that is power. That's part of the pluralist power. Okay? Now they're not sitting up in Congress with all of their little groups and their little, lobbyists and things of that nature, but the power is still there. So most of our society, or lots of our society, the power is like that. Even people like the Salvation Army have a lot of power. The churches have enormous power. Okay? Notice that the churches have power to the point that they have land and the land is not taxed. Okay? Yeah. The land doesn't get taxed. They get all these funds coming in and it comes in under donations. It's not taxed. All right? That's the power that takes place in this society. So you have to bear that in mind. Power is almost everywhere, and this is what pluralist power is. All right? Now, bear in mind also that pluralist power sounds very much like the sociologists that would buy that are functionalists. Okay? Because they're looking at things like society is a system, is a system of, I want to say, organizations that are interrelated and they function together. That's what our theory, that's our definition, right? You see how it comes to play? All right? Now, when you learn that way back in chapter 1, it didn't say anything about how it relates to power in chapter 16. But you have to see that. Okay? But that's what functionalists are talking about. Now, from there we have something, our second approach in what we call a power elite theory. And this theory suggests that political power is concentrated in the hands of a small, dominant group of business, government, military leaders, okay? Now, this was developed by sociologist C. Wright Mills, and it's called the power elite theory. Now, notice that this power elite theory is sort of like the conflict theory, okay? Now, what do they say? What he's arguing is that, look, when you look at the power elite theory, what you might have is you might have the political arena, you might have economics, this is like business, and you might have military. Notice how the military is being used. Okay? Now when he says you look at the power elite theory, here's what he's saying. Now remember we talked about the people who are affluent send their kids to Harvard, Stanford, Yale, blah, 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 blah. Okay? These elite schools are these very specialized schools. And they send them to schools as children. Okay? They go to schools where they're taught to be leaders. We are taught to be followers, but they are taught to be leaders. The person is a general. He leaves this place, and he turns out, he comes over here, and all of a sudden, he's a president. Okay? And then when he comes out of office, he goes over here, and he heads such and such a corporation. Meantime, the person who was in this corporation has come over here. He's the head of a banking corporation here. And he shifts over, and now all of a sudden he's the Secretary of Treasury. Isn't that interesting? Okay? All right? And then he comes back here, heading something, and then he gets a military contract to buy something over here from the military. And if this group of people here, all they do is switch back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's what they mean by the power elite. And when you look at things, it seems very often that that's exactly what happens. Okay? And this was your theory of C. Wright Mills, and I think your book points out that even when President Eisenhower left office, Eisenhower was here, and Eisenhower went from here to here. You'll be surprised. Grant was here, Grant went from here to here in your history. Okay? See that there was another person who was also in the military that went from here to here, to right into the political arena. Okay? That's what has happened. And then notice that all of these people, they all go to the same schools, or the same group of schools. Their children meet each other, they play with each other, but they're not playing on the streets of Newark. They're playing in their country clubs. Okay? And they marry each other. And when you look at things historically, you will discover that very often they say, well, so-and-so was so-and-so, but he married well. Okay? Because he married a woman that had power and influence. Her family had power and influence, and the man went into it. And if you remember, even back then, very often women were not allowed to even own property. So the husbands got all the